Okay, so I want to talk about tasks and asynchronous code in C#. So asynchronous, if you look up a definition, you'll probably see that it means doing two or more things at the same time. Now, this got me confused when I was first trying to understand tasks, and I would prefer to define it as a more complex way to run code that makes it more efficient. So say you want to write a program that simulates you making lunch or something. For lunch, you're going to heat up some pasta in the microwave, and while the pasta is heating up, you're going to grate some cheese to put it on after. And then when the pasta is done, you'll take it out of the microwave and put the cheese on it. So let me show you how this would be done with asynchronous code. So I'm going to start by making two methods down here. The first one is going to be for heating up the pasta, and we want to define this method as asynchronous, and this is how you do it. So there's another special keyword, which is just async, just like this, and it's just like static. It's put before the name and the return type of this method. Now, when you're defining an asynchronous task, the return type will need to be a task. So I'm going to do a task like this, and then I'm going to name, oh, that's not what I want, task, and then I'm going to name the method heat up pasta like this. Boom. Now notice this task is red because I need to import a namespace. So using system.threading.task, see this added that line up there, and now it's all good. So now in this heating up method, I want to print the console, putting pasta in microwave. Okay. And now to simulate the pasta heating up, I'm just gonna wait for 2.5 seconds. To do that, I'm gonna call task.delay, which will basically just, it'll create a task that will complete after the certain amount of time that we specify. So, and it's in milliseconds, so I'm gonna go 2,500 milliseconds, which is 2.5 seconds. So now here we have a new task, and tasks, they store operations or processes, and this specific task, you can see here, it creates a task that completes after a specified number of milliseconds. So all this task does is it just waits. After that waiting, we're gonna go console.writeLine pasta is warm. Boom. Okay, now I'm going to make the next method not public, which is going to be for grating the cheese. So this is also going to be an async method. Async static, also return a task, and I'm just going to call it grate cheese, like this. And inside of this, I'm just going to make an infinite loop, so a while true. And inside of here, we're just going to print out grating cheese, and then I'm going to use the same task.delay up here, but except we're just going to make it for 1 second. For 1,000 milliseconds is 1 second. So up in the main method here, we're going to start by heating up the pasta. We're going to put our pasta in the microwave, and then after that we're going to start grating the cheese like this. Let's run this right now. Okay, and you see we're just getting a load of grating cheese messages, and that's because, and actually let me run that again to show you something again. So if I stop it right now, let me go all the way back up to the top. You can see we print out the two messages here for putting the pasta in the microwave and saying that the pasta is warm. But this doesn't make any sense because the pasta is warm instantly. We don't have time to grate a single bit of cheese before the pasta is warm, so that doesn't make any sense. And that's because this line doesn't actually stop the execution of code, right? So when we call heat up pasta here, it'll run this line, and then it'll run this line, and immediately after it'll run this line. So it won't actually wait for 2.5 seconds. And that's because this line, all it does is that it creates a task of a specified number of milliseconds, and it starts it, but we don't actually wait for it to complete. So to wait for a task to complete, we need to use the await keyword like this. And notice how it turns blue, which means that it's a special word. So now that we have this await word in here, this line of code will block the execution of this async method. But what's special about the await is that it'll check if this task is complete, and if it is complete, then it'll just keep going and it'll go to the next line of code. However, if it's not complete, then it'll go back up to where this method was called, which is up here in the main method. It'll go back up to where this method was called and keep going. So then it'll start grating cheese. And then when this task is complete, it'll come back here and then it'll run this line of code. So basically, it'll run this line of code, it'll wait for 2.5 seconds, and while we're waiting those 2.5 seconds, we'll keep going and we'll grate cheese, and then once those 2.5 seconds have passed, then we'll print the pass as warm. And we want to do the same await thing with this one down here. So we actually get a delay in between each cheese grating. So now let's run this. Oh yes, I forgot to do something. And I'll show you guys what I did wrong here. So notice how we put the pasta in the microwave and we grated a single bit of cheese, and then we just stopped. We didn't wait for the pasta to get warm at all. And that's because we heated up the pasta, and then after that we put it in the microwave, and then we started waiting, and then while we're waiting we started to grate some cheese, and then after that we grated some cheese, and then notice we hit this other await here. So what this will do is it'll check, okay, has 1 second passed? No, 1 second has not passed. This task is not complete. So then it'll go back up here, and then it'll go back to the main method, and then it reaches the end of the main method, and then it'll just exit the application. So to stop that from happening, we can just do a console.read key, and this will just block the execution of code at the end of the main method. So then now if we run this, we can see everything's going well, and look at that. So let me just stop this. There we go. Okay, so look at this. First we put the pasta in the microwave. So we run this line of code, and after that we started grating cheese. So now we're into this method and we're grating cheese down here. We have time to grate cheese 3 times before we hit 2.5 seconds. And then when we hit that 2.5 second mark, then we print out that the pasta is warm. Now notice how we keep grating cheese even after the pasta is warm. What if we wanted to stop grating cheese when the pasta is warm? Let's do that. So here we wanna store this this task here. We want to store it in a variable. So it's going to be a task. Well, let's name it pasta task, like this. That's equal to that. Okay. So this will do the same thing. It'll run this method the same way it did before, except now we're storing the task in a variable, and we can use it later. I want to use it down here in this grate cheese method. So let's add a parameter. It's going to be a type task, and it's going to be named pasta task. And then we can pass in a pasta task there. And then over here, instead of going while true, we can go while pasta task dot is completed. So what this does is that it'll be true if the task is completed and false otherwise. Oh, it's not a method, it's a property. So we want to go while it's not completed, so we put an exclamation mark in front to show that it's not true. Okay, so now this should work. Let's run this. Okay, it didn't work. Hold on. Okay, so never mind, it was working, the console was just being weird there, but I did notice I I misspelled pasta. Okay, so if we run this, we can see that we're grating cheese, pasta's warm, and then we stop because this becomes true. Or no, this becomes false, sorry. Pasta task is completed, so we exit this while loop and we're done. Last thing I want to touch on is that tasks can actually return a value. So notice how right now these two methods, they don't return anything. They just kind of happen and they don't return a value. So say we want to, after grate cheese is done, we want to return the message like dinner is ready or something. So the way you return a value is that you got to change this return type here. So instead of being task, it's a task, and then with some square brackets here, or whatever you call those, the angle brackets, and then the type of variable that you're going to return. So I'm going to make it a string. You just type string in there. And then after that, after the while loop is done, I'm going to return dinner is ready, like this. Okay, so now up here, where we call the method, we need to get the result of this. So to do that, we can declare a new variable. So string result is equal to grate cheese. So now notice that right now when I hover over this method, it says that it'll return a task. And that's because we haven't gotten the result of the task yet. We want to get the result of the task. Now there's two ways you can do this really. The first way is easy, and I'm not sure it's the best way, but it works. So you can do just .result at the end, and this will work fine. Except that this will block execution until the task is done. So if you have something else that's happening after this line, it won't run until this task is complete and has a result. So that's one way, but the other way is to use await again. But however, since we're in the main method, we have to make the main method an async method, because remember, we can only use the await operator in an async method. And you can make the main method async, it's fine. You can write async up front, but then we have to change this type. Void works, but it's better to make it a task like this, and that's fine. So now we get the result of this async method, or of this task, and then say we want to print it out. Let's just print out result like this. Let's restart it. We're getting cheese, pastas warm, and dinner's ready. So look at that, that works as well. And actually, let me just show you that it would work as well just with the dot result like this. This works fine as well. Boom, there we go. Okay, so I hope you learned something about tasks. It does take a while to wrap your head around how they work, but I find it useful to go through the code step by step to see exactly how it will be run. I find it useful. Okay, so I hope you understand tasks now, and I wanted to go over these before we get into actually using an API, because there'll be some other stuff you haven't seen before either. So see you in the next video.